All right, Christian Jackson. We're live, sir. How are you
Yes,
today?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh man, fantastic. I got no complaints. No
Good, man.
complaints. Thank you for your time today. Appreciate that.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no worries, no worries. So Chris, we'll wait. Got like a million people that try to feed into this live stream.
Just a
So let's
million?
give them
That's
a
it?
little. That's it. That's it. We'll give them a second to pop in.
Okay.
Chris, we I started doing this. You are the 41st interview.
41.
Yeah, number 41.
Okay.
And we started doing this, right around the time that the pandemic was announced, and we all got sheltered in place last March.
Mm-hmm.
And every Thursday at 2 o'clock since then, we've been doing this, and we branded it "Lending with Purpose." So this is the first time that people will see like the new logo and the colors and stuff like that. And
Awesome.
yeah, so monumental for both of us today with this. And so, Chris, what we do, Christian, what we do with this is we have conversations with our clients and
Mm-hmm.
friends, right? And
Right.
what it is we introduce various forms of information, from the professionals and resources that we often use. Number one, things that we look for that we never knew existed and wanted to learn more about. And so, I thought today was fitting. And so, I'll start off with a quick story, and then we'll get into it. So, Chris, yesterday, I don't know how you would answer this question, but I was on a panel, and we were talking to a group of college students from across the country and higher education professionals. And so, one of the questions is what would you tell your younger self? Because they wanted us to speak to the students. And so, my story went a little bit like this: Dear Shawn, you remember that money that your mom gave you yesterday? And you took it, and you were supposed to buy books with it. You didn't buy books, but you took one of your friends' books and you made photocopies of the chapters. Um, and and you took that money and you bought some pizza, you partied a little bit, and you bought some clothes with it, right? So, Shawn, next time your mom gives you money for books, and if you're really not going to buy books with it, you're not going to use it, you should probably open like a little investment account or something like that and buy some stocks.
Right. And
So,
hold on to it.
and hold on to it. And
Right.
so, which was fitting because I was thinking about it. Like, we don't think about the small wins. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times we're thinking, if we're not investing hundreds of thousands of dollars or thousands of dollars into something, that it's not going to make sense. But me looking back, hindsight's always 2020, right?
Right.
Me looking back, 20 something years of money compounding
Mm-hmm.
would have been a
Mm-hmm.
right now, right?
Right.
And then we're talking about real estate today and appraisals and such. But you think about, like, even it would have been softened the blow a lot for me or anybody that's investing early to maybe take some of that money out,
Right.
and use that to purchase real estate. So I just wanted to open with that and let you know that that story that I told yesterday. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
that's a good one, man. I mean, yeah, I would do along the same thing. I would tell them to hold on to the real estate. I would tell my younger self to hold on to all the real estate that I was buying and flipping back then. I
wow,
just buy it and hold on to it. I had a
right,
couple of DC properties. I had a 4-level Victorian on Capitol Hill
wow,
that I had under contract for $170,000, and and I let it go because I wanted it at 165. And the
really,
house is worth $1.56 million right now, man. It's just,
yeah,
so I would definitely have those conversations with young Chris.
that's funny. We never
Yeah.
this, yeah. So anybody that's in here, that's a great point. So anybody that's coming in, uh, share any questions that you have in the comments. All right. So put questions in the comments. As folks know, this is largely conversational between us. We're not going to lecture anybody. We are going to give you good information. And so today I have Chris Jackson, and he's the owner of and appraiser from Jackson Appraisals. And so, Chris, tell us who you are and what you do, and then we'll get to it.
Awesome. Yeah, man. Again, thank you for having me. Christian Jackson, the owner of the Jackson Appraisal Group. We're based in Lanham, Maryland. We cover the DMV, so we cover, do appraisals in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. I'm also the owner of the Jackson Group, which is a real estate sales company based with Keller Williams right now. So sort of dual career, but I look at it as one. It's all real estate. I kind of do any and all things real estate. You know, if you need anything regarding real estate, I like to think that I have the solution for you. I can point you in the direction for somebody who does. So I got into real estate about 2004. So I don't know, do the math, whatever that is. And I bought my first house in DC, and that was something I really wasn't aware of what I was doing. I had a friend's dad who was a broker who kind of led me down that path and just kind of held my hand through that whole process. Mm-hmm. And so he, helped me buy it. Didn't know what was going on. We were renting it out for like 3 or 4 months. And then he came back to me and asked me if I wanted to sell it. And if somebody wanted to buy it for $30,000, $40,000 more than what we had originally bought it for. I said, okay, let's do it. So I'm 20 at the time. I don't know, what am I, 23 years old? And I get a check for around $20,000. For, right. And so that was my first, yeah. So, the first thing I did was I went straight to the mall, got me the new Avarex and new Timberlands and all that stupid stuff. So that's another conversation I'm having with young Chris, right? But I blew it. But the realization was that I wanted to, I knew that I wanted to be in real estate at that point. And so then I started taking it seriously, started learning about flipping and investing and that type of thing. So I got into that. After I graduated college, I moved to Florida to do it. So I said, if I'm going to do it up here in the DMV, I might as well do it where there's sunshine, right. 12 months a year. So I went down there for a hot second until the market crashed on us. And we were flipping like gangbusters down in Tampa, me and my buddy. And then it's like 1 week we were selling houses left and right. The next week, the phones were dry and we had houses just stuck, that we just stuck with. And so we learned
the car costs more than the property.
100%. Oh, 100%. Yeah, I had a house that I bought for about $100,000 that had a tenant in there. And I had to end up letting it go because I didn't have the funds, to kind of maintain it. And I think that house ended up selling for maybe $9,000.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? And so it was, that was a lesson to learn. But when I came back home, I said, I want to stay in real estate. I still love real estate, even though I just went through what I went through. But I want a career in real estate, but I didn't want the ups and downs of investing as a career path. Mm-hmm. Right. And so then I just picked up the local community college workforce development courses and saw appraisals in there. And I remember this appraiser down in Tampa that walked through one of my houses, maybe 10 minutes, and I had to give him a $400 check. And I said, that's what I want to do. That's the move right there. And so I didn't know everything that went into doing an appraisal and everything on the back end of it. But I knew that's what got me in the door to learning that whole process. So it was just a blessing to kind of fall into it the way I did. I ended up knowing somebody that was in the appraisal industry after I started taking my classes, which kind of came completely random because the barrier for entry is not easy.
Is that isn't that how we got connected? You were working with Matt and Ricky, right? Is that?
That is how we got connected. You're right.
That way.
So that's exactly how I got connected. So Matt's father-in-law, I used to work with at my college job doing Campus Outfitters. Right, it was a little school uniform shop.
Yeah,
and I remember when I was taking the classes, his father-in-law called me and said, "Hey, let's do dinner." I said, "Okay." Now, mind you, he didn't know what I was doing. Okay, because he had already sold the company. He was away from the company. Me and him maybe talked a couple times a year. He didn't know what I was doing at all. Right. He sat me down and said, Matt's opening an appraisal company, and I think you'd be good to work with him. I said, oh, okay. Like, who told you that I was doing appraisals? And he was like, no, nobody told. I had no idea. I'm like, no, that's crazy. So that's how I got started. I got started working with Matt and Ricky.
Yeah, no such thing as a coincidence.
That's true. Right. That's very true. Yeah,
they're two good guys, and it's great that you got an opportunity to work with them because I can see the same level of integrity in what you do in your business through them too as well. So that's awesome. So
and we stay connected, man. Yeah, Yeah, and we definitely stay connected, shoot ideas off each other. And it's good to have colleagues like that in this business because on the appraisal side, we don't really get a chance to connect with people like you do on the realtor side or on the lending side, right? And so
Right.
we don't get a chance to really build connections. People just kind of throw you in the basement, wait for your numbers to come out, and that's it. So it's very important to keep contact with your colleagues within the industry.
All right, you ready to get to it?
Let's do it.
All right. So look, what is an appraisal? Like, what is it?
Right. So an appraisal is, I would like to say, it is a professional opinion from a professional, licensed professional, about what the market value is of a particular property. Right. If we're talking about real property now. So the different factors and it's the most probable price. It used to be the highest price that a market would garner,
Yeah.
but that changed recently to the most probable price.
How? Let me real quick. Let me interrupt you on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So when did that change? You said recently.
Don't quote me. Recently, I mean, when I say recently, last 5 to 10 years, somewhere in that neighborhood. Yeah.
Because the one thing that you mentioned was highest, right? And I think we all outside of this industry, highest price.
Right.
Right. And you mentioned probable.
Right.
Which is pretty. It's a bit different. It's a lot different, right?
It's a big difference. So in a market like we're in today, right? This gives us good examples of what we're talking about. So in the market like we're in today, you can have a listing and you'll have 20 offers, right? Yeah. And the house, as it say, is listed at 300, right? And you'll have 2 offers at 290. Then you'll have 15 offers between 300 and 305, right? And then you'll have, whatever the difference is, 3 offers or whatever at 320 to 330, right? Your most probable price is between that 300 and 305. If you go ahead and accept that 320 offer, you're on the high end of it, and you're probably going to expect a low appraisal at that point.
Okay. So what do you look for when you're looking at that circumstance or situation there? What would you look for?
Well,
your determination.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, recent sales data is the thing that we look for the most, right? Mm-hmm. And in a changing market like this, the more recent, the better, right? So you're looking for apples to apples as best possible. So you want stuff that's within your neighborhood first, that's sold the most recent first, right? It doesn't always work out that way. So you got to kind of expand your search out in time. You got to expand your search out in distance to find those comparables. You also want to get a grasp of what the market is doing today, right? If we're sitting here in late January and I'm using a comparable from July, I mean, it's completely, I'm able to do that, right? It was within the realms of what I'm able to do, but I have to understand that the market is different today than it was in July. You know what I mean? And the market is different in July than it was in February of last year, like completely different, you know? So you have to kind of get a grasp of what's going on today. And part of what I do with that is you analyze the inventory in the market. You analyze the active listings, the under contracts, how quickly those are going. And then you try to get a grasp of the sales activity on the current sale. If we're appraising a sale, you kind of get a good grasp of the market activity on that particular sale when it was listed for sale. How many offers did they get? How many days on market was it? Days on market for me is pretty big. If you got an offer that's $30,000 over list price, but you were on the market 40 days, that's a red flag. Something I got to figure out what the story is, right? If you got $30,000 over list and you were on the market 2 days, then I want to see what the response was, and then you're going to have a better shot at me coming in at value if you were on the market 2 or 3 days as opposed to you being on the market 40 days.
Got it.
If that makes sense.
It does make sense. But so my clients tell me, and Chris, I think your mic is hitting your zipper. That's what,
is it?
Brandon Diggs says, "What's up?" By the way, he was like, your zipper is hitting your microphone, bro.
All right, hold on. Hold on. Give me 2 seconds. Let me try to get this thing hooked up to the charger real quick. Hold on.
Okay. All right, people. So we'll be waiting for Chris to come back on here. It's good information. So probable is the word that I heard, and also we're thinking about. I wrote down today versus the past. Present time is very important from what I'm hearing, and we'll get back and talk about this inventory because we have a lack of inventory too as well around. But one thing before I get into that, Chris, hey man, you should have appraised my house for more. I've updated it. My neighbor across the street doesn't have the same upgrades as me, and they just bought their house for X amount of dollars, or they just got an appraisal. Like, it's not fair. Like, why isn't my house appraising for the same price?
Right. There are a lot of differences to take into account, and I get that I literally have that conversation at least once a week, right? And it's tough. I mean, you try to go down and list. A lot of times people come to me and say, "Hey, you appraised my house. You said I have 4 bedrooms and I have 6." And I said, "Okay, that would be a big difference, right? That could make a big difference in price." I'm also a human being, so I can make a mistake here or there, right? I understand that. But let me ask you a question: those 4 bedrooms upstairs, or are there 4 bedrooms upstairs and 2 downstairs? They say, yeah. Okay. So, and then if you look on the line below where you see 4 bedrooms, do you see where it says 2BR? It says, yes. I said 4 plus 2 is 6. So we counted for 6 bedrooms. We count above grade and below grade differently. So it's little things like that people don't really understand. And which is why they, obviously they when they look at it, the first thing people do when they look at an appraisal report, they go right to the bottom of page 2. They look for the value, and if it's not the value that they want, then they're automatically running through the report, trying to figure out, what's wrong with it, right?
That's the first thing I do when I get it back. I go look for the price,
right?
What hits the value? I look for as is or subject to.
That's it.
And then I go for the rest of it.
That's it. And a lot of times, if it hits the value, right, and just talking about a typical homeowner, if it hits the value that they wanted, they don't even look at the rest of the report. They might peek through it and see what's going on, but as long as it hits the number. But it's a lot that goes into getting to that number, and so whether it's low or at your price or whatever, there's a lot that went into it. So learning how to read that report and understanding how the appraiser got to that number is important. It's just probably more important than what that number says at the bottom.
Got it. No, that was good. I like the comments you made about the above and below grade.
Yeah.
For the bedrooms, because we get that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely a rebuttal that we get quite a bit. So what hurts a home appraisal? Like,
right. So I guess one of the biggest things is condition, right? And so in the appraisal we have different condition ratings. So they go from a C1 to a C6, where a C1 is brand new construction, and a C6 is tear it down and start over, basically, right? C2 is like a brand new renovation. Most houses, at least in this area that we come across, are going to be between C3 and C4. C3 is like updated, good condition, has been lived in. C4 is it needs some work. It's dated, it's functional, but it needs some work. Kitchen's dated, floors are dated, bathrooms are dated, but it needs work. So most houses are going to be in that range. You got obviously the investor flips, the ones that are done right, will be C2s, and then you got C5s are like right next to that C6 space. So
understood.
That's the biggest thing that you're going to be looking at when it comes to looking for comparables, right? Mm-hmm. That alongside of the size of the house, the GLA is what's called the GLA, and then the lot size, that type of thing, and location. So those are kind of your big factors that you want to take into account. And the thing about the condition is a lot of that is they try to objectify it as much as they could with the rating system, but a lot of that is very subjective. So you got some houses that come in and they could be a C3, they could be a C4, and then that's when the appraiser's opinion really weighs heavy, and it kind of determines what comparables he's using or she's using.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
So speak to speak to the comparables. Like where do you get those comparables? Like what, number one, first and foremost, what is a comparable, right?
Mm-hmm.
You explain that. Tell us like how far out you can go, because that's
Right.
I get that a lot too as well. Like, this person, down the street has this particular type of house or whatever, and it might not be a comparable, right? We might not
Mm-hmm.
consider that a comparable. Or my friend that lives in the next subdivision over that is 5 miles away. We have the same exact house, the same model. Like, why can't you use something like that?
Right. So it all depends on the neighborhood, and there's no rule that says that you can't use that 5 mile down the road same model house, right?
Okay.
You just have to explain why you did it, because if there's another house that's just as similar in the same neighborhood and it didn't sell at the number that you want, then you need to explain why you didn't use that account, right?
Okay.
And so there's like like just say in the heart of DC, you can't really go a mile. That just doesn't make any sense. If you go out for a little condo and you're going a mile out to find a comp, then there's a red flag right there, right?
Right.
But if you're in Davidsonville somewhere, somewhere where every house is sitting on 4 or 5 acres, then you might have to spread it out 4 or 5 miles, to find the correct comps. So it all depends on where you're at, what makes sense. Everybody always hears the 1 mile radius type of rule, and that's relevant, in a lot of areas. But like I said, it's all based on each house. The way I look at it, especially now being a realtor as well, the way I look at it is, if I have a buyer that's looking at the subject property and they liked everything about it, but they want to look at a couple more houses, what other houses are we going to go look at? Right? I kind of look at it like that. You know what I mean? Just kind of want to see what other houses is the market going to compare to this house right here.
Got it. And that's that period in the story.
That's it. Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
It can go beyond 1 mile radius.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll give you an example. I was one of the first. I was working for. I wasn't my company at the time. I was working for a company. After I stopped working with Matt and them, I was working with a company. We were based in Potomac, and we were one of the first ones to do appraisals and to do a closed sale in National Harbor for the townhouse condos over there.
Yeah.
And so we had a townhouse condo, no sales at all. It's under contract for $550,000, and 12 or 13 under contracts of the similar model right there. So whatever they started building was basically sold out. And for that, at that first little spot that they were doing. And so I'm like trying to figure out how I'm going to appraise this thing, right? Because in my mind, common sense says it's worth it. People are buying these houses, right? And so, we got to figure it out, because now I have this townhouse condo that's in Oxon Hill, Maryland, for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
And for $550,000, right? So the closest townhouse condo community was a couple miles away in Oxon Hill off of St. Barnabas Road, if you're familiar with the area. And those were selling brand spanking new for $250,000, right? So I can't avoid that. I got to put it in the report, right? Yes. So then, but obviously it doesn't have a water view. It's not the quality. It's not it's a whole different product. You know what I mean? But from an appraisal standpoint, I have to use it. There's nothing else I can use, right? So then what else am I going to do, though? Because I can't justify a $550 value with only $250,000 comps. So I ended up going across the water into Alexandria in the Old Town. They have townhouse condos over there, but those are selling at 1.1, 1.2. So then you make the adjustments for location and size. Those are a little bigger, that type of thing. So you make the adjustments for that, and so you kind of just end out right around where they were selling them for. And so that I always use that example, because it just shows like typically those aren't comps. Anything that I use in that report, right. But it's what I had to work with. And based on the market evidence that the houses were worth that, because they were actually selling, right? The house is worth a house is worth what people are willing to pay for it, right? And the most probable price that they're willing to pay for it. And if I got, good hard evidence as to what they're willing to pay for it, then it's my job at that point to prove it or disprove it, right? If that's the case. But it's my job at that point to make it make sense.
That's pretty unique. I mean,
yeah.
Alexandria across the water, largely a stone's throw away.
Right.
I mean, you were able to prove, and justify the values on that. That was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, because you still got the same water views and everything that they had. So
just in a different state.
It's different state. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Right. So one more thing, actually two more things, and then we'll wrap things up. But so Brandon Diggs, DHI appraisers, inspectors, was on here too as well. And
that's my guy.
He gave you a shout. He said the same about you. But so appraisal, home inspection.
Right.
There is a difference.
It's a big difference.
I'm
laughing because everybody thinks I'm a home inspector. I'm not. Like, and I clearly put it in my reports that I'm not a home inspector. If you need a home inspector, I'm gonna put you on to my man Brandon. He's gonna take care of you.
Right.
But I'm not. A home inspector is going to spend 3 hours in your house, 2 hours, whatever, however long it takes you. Brandon's a little more efficient than that, by the way. But he'll go
all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But no, you're going to go through and you're going to be looking at plumbing, electrical, mechanical, HVAC, all that stuff. And I'm just kind of walking through like a buyer would walk through the house. Right. And I'm only going to be there about 15, 20 minutes inside your home. Unless you got a massive home, then I'll be there longer. But typically, the interior inspection is going to take me about 15, 20 minutes. I'm walking through, getting a layout of the home, taking my pictures so I can know exactly what I'm appraising and know who I'm comparing it to. And so I'm there for value, and the home inspector is there to figure out what works and what doesn't work in the home.
Okay. All right. So last thing before we get into this purpose question. So this market, we keep saying this market, right? It's been my experience, specifically within the last year, at least, even before then in some locations in some areas, but it seems like everywhere now in this greater Washington area, we call it the DMV, right? Folks are paying above list price, which, they're even writing in their contracts or offers that they're going to waive the appraisal, so to speak, right? And they will pay above the appraised value. Right. We're getting appraisal waivers from the automated underwriting systems through Fannie and Freddie and such. How does that make your we talked about the probability, like that, you've said that multiple times, right? The probability of what the value will be. How do things like that affect the way that you go about coming up with those numbers? Because I gotta believe if you got a house that sold for $550 and someone paid $600,000 for it, which is $50,000 above the sales price or the asking price, which you're doing, right? You've seen that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. How does it affect you?
It becomes market data, and that's the thing that gets scary, right? Because then I feel like it kind of skews the numbers, right, a little bit. Because if you had, let's just go back to that $300,000 example, right? We have most of our offers sitting between 300 and 305, and then we have somebody sitting up at that 320, but that 320 saying, I don't care what it appraises at, I'm gonna pay the difference, right? Well, the house is really worth that 305. This guy pays 320. It goes in the system as him paying 320, and now when the house next door goes up for sale for 320. They got a comp that shows that the house is worth 320, but that's not necessarily what that house was actually worth. The first house was actually worth, right? And so there's nothing you can really do, but you use it as market data. We don't, as appraisers, we don't know the ins and outs of every deal, right? And so it just becomes market data, and then that's how you see the prices start to do what they're doing. Right.
But you hang your hat on that 320 sale, not the 305.
It's something to look at, yeah. And if it's if it's an apple to apple comparable, you can definitely hang your hat on it.
Got it. So this was amazing. I don't want to take too much more of your time, Chris, but like I've been writing some notes and everything, and we think we know a lot because we've been in the business for a while, and I definitely pulled some nuggets out. Joie Ashworth, she's with Weicker. She wrote in here a great example on atypical comps, like the example that you gave of the National Harbor.
Right.
Is the Alexandria
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those were great examples. But what I'm walking away from here is just everything is based on market evidence. And like you said, it's all about what homeowners, home buyers are willing to pay for the house, but also the probability of what they're going to pay to as well that you have to figure out. And so, yeah, that's what it's about. Chris, so a couple things like if we have any lenders on here, or anyone AMCs that are listening and such, because we're not supposed to contact you directly to do stuff like that. The clients and things like the clients can I'm sure reach out to you and get an independent appraisal. But like, how can people contact you and get in touch with you in regards to your services?
Okay.
And we'll put that in the chat for.
I mean, I always tell people to connect with me on Instagram. My Instagram is grind_time_real estate. There, my
real estate.
Yep. Website is jacksonappraisalgroupllc.com. Still working on it, but yeah, that's there.
You said
that's not. That's there. Yeah, it's there.
World, so it doesn't.
And then the office number is 301-429-1700.
Okay.
Yep. And so you can always get the appraisal company there. And so I'm always, definitely through my Instagram, always available, people to hit me up and ask me questions, or I'm trying to be an open book as much as I can, especially in this climate that we're in today. A lot of people have a lot of appraisal questions. It's becoming a little bit of a hot topic. So I'm just trying to be an open book. I've been doing this is year 14 now for me on the appraisal side. So yeah, man, I'm whenever anybody needs to reach out, just do so.
Yeah, we met in 2011. We got you into our AMC and then some of the other companies that I worked with before starting this company, which I've never seen an issue with any of your appraisals. Obviously, we don't know until we receive it who's going out, right?
Right.
I've never had anybody give us an issue with any of your appraisals. You've been timely every time. And then, if for some reason that there's something that pops up, the thing that for us as lenders, man, that is just so frustrating is that when we don't have any communication, because we're responsible for obtaining this appraisal, right? But we have no access at all to really anybody to find out besides the AMCs.
Right.
And so just the communication that your group does is great, and we appreciate that. So at least if the appraiser is going to be late, we know it's going to be late, and we know why, and we know to expect it.
Right. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So we do appreciate that from you. So
what I always tell people, man, on the lending side, like, I know there are rules in place and everything. Then every lender has their own policies and stuff.
Yeah.
But you guys can call me and ask me, about nothing. Like, don't try to persuade me on value or anything like that.
Can't do that.
But I'm a professional. I know what to listen to, what not to, and what to take in. So you guys can call me and ask me a general appraisal question. You can call me and ask me about scheduling. People sometimes think that they just can't talk to me at all. Like, you can't just like, and I'm like, nah, you can talk to me. Just don't, just keep your opinions on your value over there. That's it.
Yeah. Appraisal independence. We can't try to sway the value.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
That's a huge no.
Yep.
All right. So before we wrap it up, everybody knows this is my favorite part. Like, I enjoyed the conversation. The conversation was amazing. But I'm interested to hear, Chris, you got one person dead or alive. All right. You could have breakfast, lunch, dinner, just a conversation, trade an email, whatever it might be. Who would it be? And then you get one question to ask that person. Who would it be, and what question would you ask?
That's a good one, man. Yeah, you know what? Honestly, if I had to choose, people gonna laugh.
Everybody says something different every week. So.
Right? Yeah. You know who it is, man? It's Will Smith, man.
Oh, that's a good one.
Will Smith. You know why? Because I've been following before he got on Instagram. So I started following like a lot of stuff he was doing on YouTube, and like people put little clips together of him. Yeah. Man, he is big on manifestation. He's big on positive energy and just willing his way into what it is that he wants to accomplish. And I love that. You know what I mean? I love it.
Existence.
Yeah. So I would just have a conversation with him about that, his views on the universe, all that type of stuff.
What if I'm right now, we're sitting down or whatever, you get an opportunity to talk to me on the phone or whatnot, what would you say?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's one question. I'm sitting down there. I want to hear his story. He tells a story about how he jumped. Cause I think a couple of years ago, he jumped out of a helicopter on a bungee jumping or whatever, right? For his 50th birthday.
Yeah.
But then he talks about the fear that he had right before it, right? And how all that fear goes away immediately after you jump off, right? Mm-hmm. So the point where you're in the most danger, you actually feel nothing. You know what I mean? Like you actually feel good because you've already taken that leap and you've already gotten through the anxiety of thinking about doing it. And so that applies obviously to life and our business obstacles. And when you want to take that leap and you're a little hesitant to do it, sometimes you just got to jump off just jump off the plane, man. Just do it, you know, and you'll find out it's going to end up working out in your favor at the end of that. So it's just that conversation. I don't think it's one question, man. I'm literally just chopping it up with him. I'm gonna keep him at that table as long as I can.
Oh, he's gonna be mad. He's like you can't ever schedule a time with this guy again.
Right. Right. Right.
Nah, that's awesome. No, that's amazing. So we haven't had Will Smith before, and that's a good example and great, lesson in conversation. So I hope you get that opportunity to speak to Will Smith one day.
We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. So I'll ask you. We'll end the live stream. I'll just ask you to stay on with me for a couple minutes afterwards, and we can just wrap up that way. I'll put your information in the.
It's actually 429. 324 is our old
one. Okay. Yeah. So 429.
Yep. 301-429-1700.
1700. All right. 301-429-1700. We'll edit that after the fact.
Yep.
So look, everybody, thank you for joining us today. This has been great. A lot of good energy. Chris, again, we really appreciate the opportunity. The thing that I would ask is, 2020, as we all know, we don't have to talk about how tough of a year it was because we know it was, right? We've all experienced it. But just do like we talked about, positive energy. Just try to take that positive energy, whatever you got from 2020, and carry it over going forward, because we all know that things are going to get better for us, right? And so I just would tell everybody just to continue to remain safe and healthy as best as you possibly can. And just if you need anything from us, like I always say, just please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm willing all the time to introduce you to, anyone in the network. It's a shame to have all these relationships and not be able to share them with people. So we're here if you need anything. So thanks again, Chris. Thanks for everybody for joining us today, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me, Shawn.
No worries.
All right.